Okay, so how do we start downloading that content from the internet? Well, we're going to do it first in R, and on one side of my screen here I've got R, and on the other I've got my text editor, which is Notepad++. You can use a different text editor or any environment that you like, but I'll just use Notepad++ for now. So the first thing we need to do is tell it what libraries we're going to need, and in this we just need one library, and it's called HTTR. So library HTTR, and that's a handy library for downloading content from the internet. The next thing we're going to do is tell it where the files that we're going to store are going to be kept locally on this machine. So set wd brackets brackets, and for me it's going to be in C:\\/ data / neko. Okay, now the reason, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the quotation marks in there as well. There we go, data neko. Now, the reason I'm using the double backslash is because I'm in a Windows environment. If you're using a Mac or a Unix, Linux environment, you just need to use one slash. Next, we need to tell it where the file lives. URL root is given the value of http://www.stevepickering.net/neko. So this is the first bit of all of the file names. After that will come a number for the chapter 1 to 11, and then after that comes .asp. So that's the URL root. Then URL end is given the value of .asp. Then we need to stick the bit in the middle, the number. So the chapter numbers is given the value of brackets 1:11, which sets that range of numbers 1 to 11. Next comes a for loop. A for loop is going to iterate the same thing over and over again, in this instance 11 times, and the only thing that's going to change in those 11 times is the number of the chapter. So for this chapter number in chapter numbers, do the following, the things in the curly brackets. First of all, we need to tell it the URL that it has to get. So URL to get is given the value of paste. Paste is a function in R that joins things together, it sticks things together, and we want three things: the root of the URL, the number, and the end of the URL, .asp. So it is going to be URL root, comma, this chapter number, comma, URL end. And the last thing we need to put there is this sep equals doofer. The sep thing tells what are those three things separated by. It might be a space or by a comma. Well, we don't want it to be separated by anything. We want it to say neko number ASP. And I notice here in my URL root I've got the path wrong. net/neko. Thank you. The next thing we need to do is tell it where we're going to save the file locally. So output file name is given the value of, and again we're going to paste chapter, comma, this chapter number, comma, .html, and the separator again is nothing. Next comes the actual calling of a function from the HTTR library. The syntax is a bit clumsy, but it works. Let's try it. So the contents of the file I'm going to store in something called file contents is given the value of get, all capitals, URL to get, write underscore disk, brackets, output file name, comma, overwrite equals true. And if you don't put the overwrite equals true, it will throw an error if a file exists there already. And that should be 2 close brackets. Yeah, good. Then we open the connection. Connection is given the value of file, output file name, and the file contents are fed to read lines connection. And to tidy up afterwards, we will close the connection. If we don't do that, it will do it for us anyway, but it's just nice. Now, if I copy all of that into my R window, hopefully, got an error because I've made a typo there, which is right at the end. There we go. So, we'll escape that, clear it. Now, and it sits and spins because in my Neko folder there, it's already downloading them. So it's downloaded all 11 of those chapters from the site. And if we try to load it up, let's see how they look. And there we go. It's got the text. You'll notice it doesn't have the formatting. So the nice pictures at the top and things don't work, but that doesn't matter. We don't need those. All that we need is the text. And in a later session, we'll look at how you go about analyzing that text.